Hi, how are you? So today, this was kind of Khairah's idea, but also I have to heavily participate because we're going to talk about Kwanzaa, and Khairah's never really celebrated Kwanzaa before.
Nope.
And I have technically been celebrating Kwanzaa since I was younger, but my family kind of got away from it for a little bit, and for a while it was just me and my younger brother doing it. So I got really into it, and I know probably more than I should. So let's start with, are there any specific questions that you had, Khairah, that you want me to answer before we start?
What is Kwanzaa?
What is Kwanzaa? I'm so glad you asked. Okay, it was created by Dr. Maulana Karenga based on an African harvest festival tradition from various parts of Africa, specifically West and Southeast Africa.
Nice.
Yep, that's pretty interesting. So Kwanzaa is considered a Pan-African / African-American holiday. Pan-Africanism is just the global initiative to strengthen the bonds of everyone that's included in the diaspora of being of African descent. Most people that I know don't know about it because it was created in the 60s, so it's not like it was a long-standing tradition, but the people that are into it are really into it.
And I can say, obviously everybody has heard of Kwanzaa, seen it passing. If you grew up in the early 2000s and 90s like I did, you see it on every cartoon show around the time, especially black cartoons. So you knew about the candles and stuff like that, but not really much about really what it was. And to be honest, a lot of times I would get it confused with Hanukkah.
Interesting. I want to learn more about Hanukkah. We can do that next year. Let's bring in a guest for that next year.
Nice.
So really, we kind of wanted to take this opportunity to just go through the different days of Kwanzaa, so we're going to try and also use that opportunity to cut down the length of our content.
We'll see how it happens.
No promises. So there's a few symbols of Kwanzaa just to go over real quick. We start with the Kinara, which is the candle holder, and the candles are called the Mishuba Saba, and there's 7 of them. There's 3 red ones, 3 green ones with 1 black one in the middle, and you light the black candle first. We'll get into that more in a little bit. So there's also the Mazao, which are the crops, just things to represent the harvest and being plentiful. There's the Mahindi, which is corn specifically placed on the mat, which is called the Mkeka, but back to the corn represents the amount of children that are in the household, specifically that are celebrating.
Yep, I think you told me that.
Yep, and then this year we have 3, because we have a guest child in the house. So the Kikombe Cha Umoja, called the Unity Cup, is used for commemorating and giving thanks, or shukrani, to African ancestors, and also to unify the people that are celebrating. The Zawadi, known as the gifts, are given on the 6th day of Kwanzaa, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but those are traditionally handmade gifts. And then on the final day of Kwanzaa, we have the Karamu, or the feast. So, let's dive in right into it. We're going to start with the first day of Kwanzaa, Umoja. Khairah, do you want to go ahead and read what the intent for Umoja is?
Yes, I do. Okay, so the Umoja means unity, to strive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. So that kind of just, from my understanding, just like the overall arching theme of Kwanzaa, and every day after is kind of intertwined through unity in the Umoja, which is, I think, the reason why the candle is the only candle that's a different color.
Yep, and it's right in the middle of the Kinara. I wish I could include pictures on this. When we actually start doing video recordings, we'll be able to show stuff more, but for now, just picture in your head the black candles right in the middle. On the left side are all 3 of the red candles, and on the right side are all 3 of the green candles. In my house, and when I'm going to practice Kwanzaa once we move out and we have our own place, I like to light all of the other candles with the black candle to just keep that sense of unity going. I also like to use the Kikombe Cha Umoja every day. We don't typically do that in my parents' house, which is fine, but moving forward, I love that it symbolizes joining everyone that's celebrating, and you do that right when Kwanzaa starts.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way to do it. I do remember watching Kwanzaa episodes on cartoon shows when I was growing up. And so, obviously I'm not completely ignorant to Kwanzaa. I've just never really celebrated it, other than what's popularized on TV. And I don't even think it's popularized on TV anymore.
It's not anymore, which is kind of sad.
But when I was younger, telling my age, when I was younger, they did used to have, a little bill and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Proud Family and shit.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so in those, from what I saw, it was always lit with the black candle, all the other candles. So I think that represents unity in itself, and it also represents how every other day is a part of the the big umbrella of unity.
I think that's super important this year, given all the things that happened back in June, but also just because we've spent quite a bit of time
at home,
nowhere else. Internal community. Yes.
I mean, I'm saying it as a joke, but it's not really a bad thing at all. Like, you get time to, whereas, like, I guess for me, when I was younger, we always spent time with our family, but we're more in a technology age now. My younger siblings lived a different reality than I did, so spending time with family is not really a normal thing. And so with the way that this year has been going, we kind of been forced into a unity, and being grateful for it. I saw this post on Instagram earlier today where it said, I thought I was going into 2020 saying that I'm gonna get all the stuff that I want, and I went, ended 2020 with being grateful for what I have. And so, and that just, kind of speaks to you and speaks to unity in itself, because we kind of had to be grateful for what we have, the people that we have. You really couldn't be very materialistic this year, not really, because you couldn't get out really to buy it most of the year, and you had to spend time with your family with what you had, especially right at the beginning. Toilet paper. Damn toilet paper.
Who would have thought it would get that serious?
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, you brought up some good points, and I'm glad you did that. I don't think I have anything to add that off with. You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to day 2. So for the second day of Kwanzaa, which is called Kujichagulia, you are supposed to define and name yourself, as well as create and speak for yourself. So what I usually take that to mean is, what are my intentions for the coming year? What do I want to put my full determination, my effort into? What do I want to be motivated by?
My self-discipline.
Yes, and I think that's the overarching theme for a lot of the things that we spoke about when we did this as a family. It was just, my mom's been having some health challenges, not going to put too much of her information out there, and we've all been trying to support her in that, so she wants to buckle down on that. My dad, he has to buckle down on that as well. He's also got some things around the house that he needs to finish up. But no, my brother, he is going to be making moves in music. Keep an eye out for Cahn, ladies and gentlemen. Khairah can speak for herself.
Well, I'm going to be making moves it's going to be entertainment, but not, music. Yeah. I was the more popularized.
Yes.
Entertainment. So I'm gonna be making moves in books, because I'm a huge nerd and I love it.
She's gonna be in the next Penguin House.
I hope so. No, I'm gonna state that I am going to be.
Come on now.
I'm not gonna even be in the next Penguin House. I'm gonna be the first me. So I'm gonna be making moves as far as that, as far as writing my own story and publishing it under my publishing company. Kaylyn's gonna help me create a logo. and then also continue with my editing, and then by the time where I've actually published a book, I can start approaching authors and saying, hey, I like your story, can I publish it? So I'm excited for that. I actually didn't say this with the family, but I think Kayla understood it. The implied, I'm gonna be doing better with modeling. One, by not working with one specific photographer anymore, because as I could increase to working with that particular photographer, my self-esteem kind of decreased a little bit, and that's not a good thing. Yeah. I don't think I'm ugly.
You're not. She's definitely not.
So
check her out on Instagram anyway.
Shameless plug.
All right.
So I'm definitely going to be doing better with that. My main photographer will be Kaylyn, so we'll be working around her schedule more often than not, but I'm going to work on getting it more popularized. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to be working on with that. And then I have a lot. The podcast, working with Kaylyn with that, because we're co-creators on podcasts, and then our YouTube channel that we'll have, that we actually do have, but we're going to be doing other creative content on that. She's more so the head behind that, but I will be helping. Yeah.
I'm going to make her the idea person, since I'm going to do most of the editing.
That's fair, I guess, man.
Because you got the brain work and shit going on. I just do the behind the scenes stuff.
She's not giving herself enough credit. So don't do that.
You can't even see my...
No, but I heard you, and I mentally saw it. She thinks that I don't know what she's doing. No, but she's very, very creative. Don't let her fool you. And so we're going to be working on that. So I definitely will be pulling my weight on that. And then more specifically for myself, I will be creating or finish posting my blog. So I created a blog a year ago, and I never posted it. Don't know why. Okay, I do know why. Don't ask me why.
I was about to call her out. Yeah, she knows why.
Don't ask me why. But I will be posting it next year. So that will be something that's more of a regular basis to get me back into writing. And actually, I don't know if I told Kaylyn this, but I have 2 blogs. Yeah. So I will be posting both of those, and that will be what I'm doing.
I will be checking in weekly.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, and then we're gonna
see what I got myself into.
Yeah, and it's on audio, so now we have witnesses.
God.
And then for me, as far as what I wanted to accomplish, I want to put way more effort into being creative. I actually dropped out of art school. We talked about that a while ago, and since then I haven't really allowed myself to be considered a creative person, because I fucking hate being called an artist. Conversation for a later date. But yeah, so I want to put more effort into the podcast. I want to eventually start recording videos so that you guys can see how pretty Khairah is.
And how pretty Kaylyn is.
You can see that
my God.
Listen, I often look like a hot potato because I put no effort into my appearance. I'm a hot potato,
We both put zero effort in our appearance.
That's not facts. Khairah does your hair all the time. That's a lot of effort.
You do your hair all the time, though. Or you ask me to do it. That's done to me.
Is it?
If my hair was that long, that would be done for me. I would be wearing ponytails every day.
Yeah, see, but I feel like my hair is not very moisturized because I don't be taking care of it.
Have you looked at my hair?
I can't see it, so that was a joke. It was a joke. Okay. Listen, wait, we're getting off topic. Okay. I also, she didn't mention this, and I'm glad she didn't, because I wanted to talk about it, but we're also planning on getting an apartment so that we actually have more space to be ourselves. Khairah has, I have been blessed to have Khairah live with me for most of this year, but unfortunately, the circumstances behind her coming to live with me were not that great. And it kind of forced us to accelerate our plans a little bit, but thank God it did, because we didn't realize, at least I didn't quite realize how unprepared we were.
It was not just her, it was me too. There was like a lot of things that we didn't know that we needed, that I didn't know that I needed to fix. Well, I kind of knew I needed to fix it, but I didn't know it would be that dire to fix it. Yeah. And so now I've been granted the time to do that. Her parents have been awesome with letting me stay. So
yeah, gang. We're getting an apartment soon. Help us put that energy out there. And then maybe also, if you guys are watching our podcast and while we monetize it, you can actually help us financially furnish our apartment, because we pretty much got the money to move in. We pretty much got the money to cover moving fees, but furniture is expensive, so please help us with that. Anyway, the last thing that I really want to get into is I have some insecurities around my body image, and I want to not only fix my mentality around it, but get in shape, because I'm short people fat. What's that? I am.
I forgot to mention that because that was something else that I wanted to work on, was getting more in shape. I'm not too far out.
She's not.
I'm not too far physically looking at me out of shape, but to the strength that I'm used to having, I don't quite have that anymore, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's fair. Same,
so
actually.
I want to build up my muscle again. I've also been seeing some nice looking men on Instagram that look nice, and that's been inspiring me to get my shit together.
Hey man, like my mom says, if you want a man that's a full glass, you gotta be a full glass.
So I gotta get myself to a full glass. I think I'm like yourself. Almost 3/4 of the way.
Yeah, man.
I just need to like get to that other little part.
And that's a lot of mental work there. Anyway, I don't think there's anything else I need to say about Coochie Chocolate, except that this year we also recorded a video for my church. So if you find Detroit Unity,
don't do it.
Yeah, no. If you find, I'm not gonna link it at all because I'm horribly embarrassed. But if you find,
you had nothing to be embarrassed about.
That's not facts. I again look like a hot potato, and then they had me wearing gold, so that just kind of blends into my skin tone on bad cameras. Anyway, point was, if you find it on YouTube or anything, type in the comments, hey, I know who you are, not trying to be creepy, and I'll know exactly where you came from. Alright, that wraps up Coochie Chocolate. Moving on.
Okay.
Kwanzaa celebration. The second day of Kwanzaa, Coochie Chocolate, self-determination.
All right. So for the third day, I wanted to start. I just kind of cut her off,
Yeah,
but I did it on purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna read what it is, and it is Ujima.
Yep.
And which is collective work and responsibility. Nice. So it means to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together.
And now I'm going to cut her off because I think today was actually a great example of that. Without going into any details, because that's none of my business and it's for damn sure none of your business, Khairah was having a rough day. And because she is someone whose happiness I value, her problem is my problem. So of course I will go with her to help take care of whatever it is, even if we just got to vent or threaten a white lady. Shouldn't have said that, but
it happened twice.
Yeah, twice, bro. Because these people were acting out of fucking character today. That's not the point. That is so against the good positivity of Kwanzaa. But hopping back on track, I think that is like the purest example of, you know. It takes not. That's the wrong phrase. I don't have the anecdote.
What I will say is, because it's specifically using the words brothers and sisters, which means family.
Yeah.
And I can say in this year more than before, and even before now, I've considered her my sister. She showed even more so this year that she's my sister. And with today, I was going through some stuff surrounding the reason that I end up moving in with Kaylyn and her family. And my sister called me because she needs to vent. Obviously, I'm a very family-oriented person. And so my sister always calls me when she needs to cry about something or when she needs to like vent out her frustrations, because I calm her down. I make her problems, and she knows that subconsciously that she can come to me with her problems and we'll work together to figure it out. But I don't necessarily have I don't have a big sister to go to like that. I have my oldest brother, but you know, he lives in a different state and he has his own stuff going on. He has his girlfriend who's amazing, you know, but they still have their issues and their things.
Yeah,
and so for that, I have to rely on my friends, and the two that has always been a constant for me in these past few years, but it seemed like it's been longer, is my friend Kaylyn and my friend Jennifer. So, but Kaylyn let my problem be her problem today, and I needed that, and I am so grateful. Thank you. I love you.
You're welcome. And she does the same for me. Like, I tend to not really feel comfortable venting about shit in the first place because, I don't know why, but I feel like people should. I'm one of those people that's like, oh, you should understand me because I did something, even though I didn't explain why I did it at all. But Khairah is one of the few people where I feel like, oh, damn, I probably do need to say something. And she lets me vent. And she's really good at channeling messages. So she'll be like, okay, well, have you thought about this, this, and this? And I'm like, you're right, I didn't. And in that way, she and I have helped each other throughout the year. I feel like specifically due to the isolation caused by the pandemic, this year could have been a lot harder if we didn't have each other and if we weren't collectively sharing our work and responsibility. Yep. And then the last thing I actually want to bring up as far as that point goes is we kind of made it about like emotional problems, but it also goes into supporting Black businesses and things like that. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But
I really wish Thom was here because he literally he is very, very adamant on supporting Black businesses and his friends who have businesses, because he's even brought up to me like with stuff that they have like journals and because he knows that I'm a nerd and I'm an English person, so he brought that specifically up to me. I don't know if he was just doing it just to vent or if he was doing it because, or subconsciously doing that because he realized like that would intrigue me, but he buys stuff for them. And what Kaylyn didn't say is that she also makes his problems her problems too. So anything that he needs to vent about, anything that he needs to bring over to her, like sometimes we're his sounding board for his music, and he's like, okay, what do you think of this? Where could we change this? I was very honored one time when he took a comment that I made about his music. Obviously I know nothing about music, but he took it and applied it, and I'm like, well, that has to mean something. He thought something of it. He did take it back out, but the point is he applied it in the first place. And so because we're working together to get to the end goal is to help him succeed, you know, so we help with that. The end goal is for us to succeed, and he helps where he can because he's a 20-year-old boy. Yeah, he's a 20-year-old boy who's never at home because he's always in the studio. And again, shameless plug, watch out for Cahn. He's coming for y'all 2021. There you go.
Yeah, okay, I think the last thing, I said that already, but the last thing, just to tie it all up in a nice, neat little bow, that also ties back into the amount of people that were protesting on behalf of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor during June. I think I said his name wrong.
No, George Floyd.
All right. Yeah. So we're gonna just also throw in that was our collective responsibility as a race to stand up against the injustices that have been done against us in this country since we were stolen and brought here. And not to get too much into that today. We'll get into that in a different podcast. That's a whole hour discussion on its own. But yeah, that is a huge example of how everyone kind of caught the vibe that we need to work together.
And we did it flawlessly, effortlessly, as if it was natural. And we didn't make it like a one night stand type thing where it was just like, oh, okay, it's cool for this week, and then we go back to the next week. We did it for 50 months.
States were rioting and protesting for months. That is not unheard of, but because we're in the technology age, that information got passed around a lot more than I think it would have been if people were able to be suppressed.
And the fact that we made it a collective responsibility, it wasn't like, oh, well, it didn't happen to my family. It was like, no, he could be my family. He is my family. This is me. We have to do this so there isn't any more. Yeah. So there isn't any more Breonna Taylors. There isn't any more hers. You know, there isn't any more hims. We have to. And so in that sense, like in the fact that we even still see it circulated now. I've seen it where they're circulating around her birthday, saying something about Christmas, where she was talking about she wanted to have a family. And so the fact that we're making sure that she's not forgotten, Breonna Taylor, and to make sure that George Floyd isn't forgotten, to make sure that Trayvon Martins aren't forgotten. There's so many. So I think that we collectively as a unit, as a race, I hate to say that, but as an entity, we are getting to Ujima naturally.
Umoja and Ujima.
Yes.
Yeah, bang, bang, bang. All right. And with that, moving on.
Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa, celebration. The third day of Kwanzaa, we call it Ujima, collective work and responsibility.
All right, so we're on day 4, and that is, or it represents Ujima, which is cooperative economics. And that means to build and maintain our own stores, shops, other businesses, and to profit from them together. So working together, doing like a Black Wall Street type of thing, which we have, I feel like we as a community have gotten really away from, but we're slowly working back to it. I know for like me personally, that's me, instead of working for a publishing company, which I technically did for a short period of time, and then was kind of really forced into doing it for myself. And I think that is Ujima for me, is doing my own business and making sure that I don't let it fall through to settle working for someone else.
Yeah, I kind of been viewing it more as specifically because of my brother, and I think we mentioned him earlier, but he likes to support his friends' businesses a lot. I think that he's so inspiring. Like, he's like 2.5 years younger than me, but that kid is my role model sometimes.
Look, I'm 5 years older than him, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I was before, but not now, that he's been a role model for me, just like in doing that too.
Yeah, Thom is a hard worker, and the motherfucker's a hustler. Shameless plug, Cahn again, just all throughout this whole thing. But yeah, so he was buying like hoodies and shirts and pants and stuff from his friends that were making things. And I think that to me was the best example of putting money back into your community. It's because you don't see too many people buying art from their friends specifically. And that actually inspired one of the Christmas gifts I got for Thom. So we're not going to go too into that. But yeah, I actually had the idea this year to decorate piggy banks to specifically set money aside to put back into the community. But if we have another pandemic type thing, that might be a little bit complicated. So at that point, you would just put it aside. And we still haven't decided because we're doing this today. But you either put it aside for people in the community, or you put it aside specifically to just open on this day next year.
And I feel like, just pandemic-wise, there's nothing wrong, because although it says investing in our own stores, shops, and other businesses, that's also investing in yourself. So, like, don't go crazy and go be frivolous with it and be like, oh yeah, I'm just buying me these pairs of shoes because it's investing in myself. That's not what I mean. I mean, like for maintaining your household and stuff like that, if it becomes where that part is necessary, then do so. But like for me, investing in getting IBNs and stuff like that, that's book terminology, stuff for books, and stuff like that. But you don't have to do it solely for yourself. And like you said, Thom, he is kind of like really, really good at it, where he is buying his friends shirts and stuff like that, but he's not just doing where it's just clothes, and I have a couple friends who started with clothes, and a cousin who started a clothing company, and I told her, hey, you need a model, I'll model for you, so we work together. So I'm making sure, with this being brought up, I'm making sure that I'm going to reach out to them and be like, hey, when you're ready, I'll be ready to help out wherever I can. You need models, I'll take pictures. My cousin, she's been making masks. I had no reason to buy a mask because I already had my own, but with doing that, I do make sure I support where I can. And then I lost my train of thought of what else I was gonna say. But essentially just making sure that we are investing in right now it's kind of inevitable to invest in other communities because they hold so much of what we need, but we should also put that same energy investing in what we need within ourselves. And that's what I was going to say. Thom also, not just clothes, he's been doing it with his friends with food. He's been doing it with his friends with, they make books, stationery stuff, all of that, and then telling people, everybody else about it. Yeah, so that's all I had to say.
Yeah, that was a good point. Thom's really good at that kind of stuff. It seems like it comes natural to him. I'm sure that just means there was some lesson in childhood that I was not paying attention to. No shame about that in the slightest. But yeah, so one thing that I just remembered day 4 that we forgot to do the other days is the colors of the candles. So yeah. I think we definitely said the first day Umoja, which is the black candle. The second day Kuchi Chagalia is the red candle, which is to the left of the black candle. Ujima is the green candle. And then the last thing today, Ujamaa is the second red candle. Yep. And it just alternates back and forth like that. I'm still going to try and mention it. I may not remember because we're actually doing this day by day. Yep. I don't think we have anything else to add. So moving on.
Right. See you tomorrow.
Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa, celebration. The 4th day of Kwanzaa, we call it Ujamaa, cooperative economics.
Okay, so today the Kwanzaa principle is Nia, which means purpose. Today we also have our first guest of the show with us. Go ahead and say hi.
What up, dog?
It's my brother Thom. We plug Thom a lot, so again, watch out for his music. Shameless plug. But yeah, Khairah, can you go ahead and read what today actually means?
All right. So Fania is to make our collective vocation. I'm sorry, I can't see.
Oh yeah, you're right.
To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness.
Yep, and we decided it was a good idea for Thom to join us because he actually has been way more involved in that in the last year than either of us have. So yeah, Thom, what you got to add?
Alright, so boom. I think that this is an interesting one for me to stumble in on, just because, during the quarantine, that's what I really feel like. I feel like I was, called to purpose, and it's an interesting conversation. So for the listeners, I don't know what type of spiritual shit y'all be getting. Can I cuss?
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of spiritual shit y'all be getting into, or if that's, a common thing. But as far as, the conversations Kaylyn and I have, it always is. But, I go to Howard. And when I was at school, I came across, a Bible passage, and it's Exodus 3:2, and that's why I asked for the Bible. But it says, the angel of the Lord appeared in a flame of fire out the midst of the bush, and looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And that's such a random Bible passage, and I'm not somebody who has read the Bible vehemently and studied it and all of that. I actually has been pretty scarce for most of my life as far as just studying that shit. But coming across that, I had an interpretation of it that was drastically different than my friend when I brought it to him, and that made me really be even more fascinated by it. And it kind of just built into it was okay, I need to read the book of Exodus to get the context. You said what?
What'd you come up with?
What did I come up with? Well, to keep it short, it's just the way the book of Exodus describes Moses' journey, just the events of that, to be drawn to that, to feel compelled and fascinated by that more than any other Bible passage I've ever read in my life. And that's like such a random passage because it's not uplifting or anything. It's just the bush was not consumed. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, why was that so captivating to me? Well, reading about Moses and seeing that it's like, you know, he was somebody who was, in a sense, like he was like called to purpose in that he was, you know, given a responsibility. And even though he didn't feel like he was the most adequately prepared, it was like all the tools were laid out in front of him. And, you know, it kind of just holds true for like everybody. I think that well, even better, I was telling you know, a good friend of mine today just about like a necklace I wear, which is a turtle, because in Greece, like they used to have turtle coins, and the reason I bought it and never take it off is because it's, to me, a symbol of personal prosperity, right? Because the reason they made the turtle their coin before they switched to euro was because it was just shit ton of turtles, especially outside of this one island. I forget what it's called, but like this specific island, hella fucking turtles. So they took something that was in abundance and gave it a purpose within their society. Personal prosperity, taking what you got in abundance and applying it to your life. So for me, like, what do I have in abundance? I got, you know, great friends. I've been given access to ways to create art and things that have fueled the ability to make money off of art and shit like that, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, I haven't started yet. But the conversation is there. You know what I'm saying? The ideas are there, and it's time to just do that work. But yeah, so, you know, for as far as purpose goes, I know I've been talking for a little long, but I think that that was a huge thing for me this year. When I felt like I was called to purpose just by finding the context around this one random passage that caught my eye. Because it's like, it was almost like when I remember when I first read it, I was like, yo, why the fuck is this like quote here? What the fuck does this mean? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what does this mean? And you know, it ended up being some hot shit. It was something very valuable. And even though it's like, okay, being somebody who wants to pursue artistry, as far as like hip hop, as far as really any kind of songwriting, you're walking into a world that is very adverse. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of shit that you can say is like guaranteed to be in your favor. So
you really have to push through for something like that.
You gotta push through like a motherfucker, because it's like, in addition to self-imposed doubt, you have everyone else's anxieties. And I've dealt with a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? I've dealt with a lot of that. And it's really a self-discovery thing, because it's like, when I see, okay, this is where I could be if I do these things, it's just the pressure, like, okay, can I actually do it? But it's like, why even ask? You know what I'm saying? Just do it.
Nice.
Just do it when you know the fuck can be done. And that applies to so much. And I think that's important when we talk about purpose, because purpose is just like, sometimes it'll all be laid out right in front of you, and you just gotta know, like, just take the fucking step. But what's that fucking, we just passed Christmas. If you're listening to this like 5 months from now, it's New Year's, you feel me? So Christmas wasn't that long ago, but me and Kaylyn, when we was young, we used to watch like a few of them like puppet shows, and it's the one with Santa when he was like young nigga.
Yeah.
And it was like walking through the woods singing, but he couldn't walk straight for some reason.
I think he was teaching the wizard how to walk, because he used to fly everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
one foot in front of the other. that song is a hit. Yeah, man, it's a banger.
That song was fucking sweet. I'm sorry, I just probably changed my tone a little bit too much.
No, you're
in what way? Why would you say that?
I don't know, bro. It's fucking sweet.
Yeah, man, you listen, whatever.
I mean, the candy cane, this bitch sweet.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Yeah, so that was our first guest for the podcast. Thank you so much.
Starting off the new season with a banger, right?
Thanks for having me. I'm gonna go watch the movie. Actually, no shameless plugs.
Okay, not for them. Yeah,
Not for
only
them.
for people we know. Shameless plug for local creators.
Unless the movie turns out to be great, then I'll come back and say what it was.
Yeah.
Well, he just agreed on record that he will be coming back, so
keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
I don't think I particularly have anything to add. My whole sense of purpose is not anywhere near as focused as Thom's, so it was good that he spoke about it.
And now you see why in the previous days we said that he inspires us. Like, I think that just kind of encompasses self. Like, I don't really think there's anything that needs to be said after this. Honestly, I was trying to figure out what my interpretation of what Nia was, and while he was talking, and I can't come up with anything. But his is so deep rooted and come from different areas, and that's really how he's supposed to work, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and Tony's such a highly driven person. We've said it not even just to in previous days, but previous episodes, how much he actually has been inspiring. And moving forward in 2021, I'm looking forward to seeing how much he can accomplish now that, because he has such a clear sense of purpose.
Well, how much he will accomplish, because there was one thing that he said that was kind of like where he said, well, I haven't started yet, and I'm like, bro, yes you have.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, and
he doesn't give himself enough credit. But with that being said, like, there's going to be so much that he's going to do, and it's still not going to be enough. And I think that's his purpose, you know?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he, like, because he's never going to count all the things that he's doing as accomplishments, but they still are on a small scale, so I want to see how much he comes up with.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, and with that being said, moving on. Yeah. All right.
Kwanzaa, celebration. The fifth day of Kwanzaa, we call it Nia. Purpose, purpose. I have a purpose.
All right, so day 6, Kuumba, creativity. Kaylyn, do you want to read what it
Sure.
is?
Yep. So for creativity, the goal is to always do as much as you can in any way that you can to leave the community more beautiful and beneficial than what we inherited. So I think I have a kind of personal example for that. My grandma, my mom's mom, she didn't really make it as much of her personality as people tend to these days, but she was a painter. And when she was getting up there in age and she started getting sick, she gave all of her supplies to me. So in that way, I literally inherited a way to make the community more beautiful. And for a really long time, I used to just give people pieces of art for free. Yeah.
I mean, she's my photographer for free.
Yeah. I feel like real art, at some point, people will talk to you about imposter syndrome and blah, 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 but like, I'm not doing art as a career, and for me that feels more fulfilling because then I don't feel obligated to charge people for it. Yeah, it's just a gift.
Okay.
Yep.
I think for me, like, the first thing that came to my mind, shameless plug kind of, is editing, because that's literally what I do. And it reminded me of something that Kaylyn was telling me, because I've been kind of hard on myself, I think reasonably so, for not getting as much work done as I felt that I should have this year or this past year. And she was like, you know, don't do something so much to the point that you will hate it. Which is funny because that was something else I was telling my friend who's a nurse, and I was actually telling Kaylyn too, like, you know, sometimes you come back around to stuff, you have to take a break a little bit, but you come back around to stuff as you relearn it and as you grow back into it. But essentially what I was saying is that she said, you know, when you feel the need to do it, as far as editing, go ahead, put your work into it. It's gonna be good. You're helping making the books better and stuff like that. And then don't force yourself to do more than what you feel like, because then you can't give it your best.
Yeah.
So do as much as you can while you can, in the way that you can, which is take breaks as needed, and then which will lead to a better product in the end. So in that way, it's not necessarily directly impacting specifically the Black community yet, but I am working with some Black authors and stuff like that. You didn't know that, but I am working with some Black authors, which is actually one of the best writers that I've actually worked with, and that's literally what I've been doing.
Good, man. That's good to hear. And then I brought up the word gifts earlier. I forgot to mention it, but in the first episode, we said that one of the symbols for Kwanzaa was called the zawadi. Today is the day that you would exchange the zawadi or the gifts. And it's not just for the kids. It's not like I don't know. It's not focused on giving gifts to the children. You give them to all the members of the family. And when I was younger, we made a huge emphasis on those being things that were handmade, whether that's editing someone's story or, like, for my brother, he would make these comic books when he was younger. My dad made me a dollhouse, just various things like that I'm a huge, super sidetracked, but one of my love languages is, like, practical gifts. So for me, that is the day to give a practical gift, something that you think that could be used throughout the year, and not just, like, you could of course do something that looks nice, but maybe focus on something that could be useful and is good, you know.
Yeah, and we definitely did that a lot in my family. I'm just thinking, like, about my grandfather and stuff like that. He didn't particularly care for gifts. He always wanted something that was from you. Like, it could be made, it could be giving him a hug, you know, and, like, even in creativity, you can, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but, like, you can love, you know, creatively. That's the word, creatively. So, like, you know, for my grandfather, it was like, you know, the only thing that I want from you, like, for a birthday gift or Kwanzaa or something like that, would just be, give me a hug that shows that you love me. You know, it doesn't have to be something materialistic. And in that way, that is giving love in a way that was not inherited to him, which instilled it in me in a way that wasn't necessarily inherited in me, which will be something that I will be giving on to my kids, and then it will intensify, because it's not, he was giving me the love that he had for me, and then having me reciprocate it in the best way, in the organic way that comes from me, intensified mine, and will intensify my own to give to my kids when I have them. Which, you know, which creates this cycle.
That's how you change the world. Yeah, I was gonna say, you change the world through your own household, and that is the best way, I think, to pass on that kind of love and creativity throughout the community. Just focus on your immediate household.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I don't think we have anything to add, and yesterday's episode ran a bit long. So, yeah, I think we can wrap it up here.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa, celebration. The 6th day of Kwanzaa, we call it Kuumba. Creativity, creativity.
So today is the final day of Kwanzaa. It's New Year's Day. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And today the principle is faith. So the goal is to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness of the victory of our struggle. So specifically, remember, Kwanzaa is for African Americans. We're not necessarily having faith in, like, a Joe Biden, perhaps. But we do want to have faith in, like, Stacey Abrams, for example.
Yeah.
Leaders within our community.
That being said, the word is Imani.
Yeah, whoops. I don't know if I said that.
It's fine.
Yeah. And then today we also have the Karamu, or the feast, which traditionally includes spicy foods, but in my house, my parents have their own separate traditions, where my mom likes to do black-eyed peas and my dad likes to do something green. So either lettuce, collard greens, so on and so forth, broccoli.
And in my house, we always did black-eyed peas, so that it's fine. And kind of ties into what I always used to do. I guess there really isn't much for me to say about Imani as a day. I mean, I think for us, like, right now, is having faith in ourselves, which is something that sometimes, well, I know specifically me, I lack. So we don't need to just have faith in our people, our parents, and stuff like that. Don't fall short of having faith in yourself. That is something that's very important, because that can help contribute to you having faith in everyone else. How are you going to have faith in someone else if you don't have it in yourself first?
Right, come on.
So that's kind of where I am focusing it on right now before I, focus on everyone else. That's not saying that I'm going to be cynical and all that, but also being realistic. So
yeah, I was going to say, one of my favorite quotes is that you have to, to actually tie it into something we talked about, I don't remember if this was for Kwanzaa at this point, but we did talk about how my mom says that if you want a man that's a full glass, you have to be a full glass. You don't get that from having other people pour into you. You pour into yourself so that you're able to find other people that filled themselves up. And then that way you're not constantly emptying yourself out or keeping yourself at a half glass to help other people get beyond where you didn't even help yourself get there. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing, like if someone else is helping you fill your glass, let's say if they leave, they're taking their serving with them, and then what do you have left? You shouldn't have to be fulfilled based on someone else. So be fulfilled in yourself. That way you can have spillage over and then have faith in someone else and help them decide to fill their own glass, because we all have to fill our own.
And having faith that we can fill our own. That's to tie it back in.
Yeah.
All right, so for the final conversation about Imani, I think it's important during the podcast to declare our faith that the podcast will at least grow into something
fruitful.
I personally don't want to focus on how well it's going to do. I know it'll do well if we put our full effort into it, so I have faith that we will continue to put our full effort into it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, something more close to home. I feel like at some point we're going to have to relinquish it, and it will be a creative part of the collective consciousness. So as far as what I still have a grasp on, I just want to make sure we're putting good work into it.
And I concur.
All right.
So I'm okay with that. I like doing this, so I'm definitely gonna put my all into it.
Yeah, same.
So it's just maintaining that, which is something that we're working on and keeping our faith in. So
yeah, and then again, thank you for bearing with us. The episodes kind of decreased, or not the episodes, the segments of Kwanzaa kind of decreased in runtime as we got further into it, but I think we got in a more meditative state, and there's just more to reflect on than there was to actually say. Yeah. And I hope you guys can take away some things to reflect on as well. And nothing to move on to. We're just gonna move on to the outro. Alright, so we are at the end. Happy New Year, and thank you for learning about Kwanzaa with me. This is the first time that I've actually officially celebrated, and I'm very grateful for doing that. I didn't know that I had applied or was applying a lot of these things into my daily life without even realizing it, so that's always great to know. Yeah. The more you know. Right. So with that, I don't think there's anything else left to be said. Yeah, I can agree. This was really fun. We haven't ever tried to do, we've only got like 6 episodes, but this is the first time we tried to do like a day-by-day type of thing, and it didn't always work out the way that we wanted it to, but I'm glad we still committed to the concept, and thank you for tolerating specifically just because it's been a while since we uploaded at this point, and I'm just grateful. I already put out that little 3-minute shit, but Khairah, you have anything to say about waiting or how long it's been since we dropped something? Okay, realistically, it wasn't that we didn't want to record, it's literally that we couldn't. And I refused to do anything Apple, so we couldn't use the computer that I had for our editing and stuff like that. So we just had to work with what we had, and
that was nothing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as she got her computer back, we immediately jumped back into it. So I'm glad that we're back to be doing it. Sorry that it took so long, but we're back.
We're back, and I don't think we have anything else to add. We're gonna wrap it up with follow us on Instagram. For me, I also have a Twitter. It's Kaylyn Kaylyn was here _ I do that every week. But it's Kaylyn was here _ on Instagram and Twitter. And then for Khairah is _ here, and Kaylyn has convinced me to get a Twitter. So that will be maybe on the next episode. We don't know. I have decided that I'm going to make her create it. So we'll see. To be determined. To be determined. Okay. And then with that,
Khairah is here.
Kaylyn was here.
And thanks for listening.
Bye.
Oh, wait.
All right. 3